Hello, everyone. You're watching Speak Your Mind with Dr. Risa Ryger. I'm Neza Alawi, founder and CEO of Join Mayshad, the New York-based company that empowers women on a daily basis. I'm here today with Dr. Risa Ryger, our clinical psychologist and investor in Mayshad. And today, our theme is the finer things of life, the enjoyment of wine. We have sommelier Heidi Turzyn joining us. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like or comment if you would like our episode today. Dr. Ryger, so let's start with your positive thoughts. Tell us a positive story to see how we can kickstart our week.
Yes. Hi, Neza, and welcome, everyone. We're so thrilled to have you here with us today. We have an amazing show. And to kick off this week, I was thinking about when we had some guests over. We had 2 guests over. It was chilly in the morning, and so I worked very hard to get our chimenea lit. All of the camping experience I had, really came into play. And afterwards, we were thinking and talking about, our time together, and it was such a joy in that we had 2 guests who were new to our home, and we were outside, of course. And they ate. They actually ate. It was so nice to have guests who came and they ate. And then they ate some more. And while we were eating and talking, we were laughing so much. And even though there was so much that was different around us, having that moment of connectedness, and more than a moment, of sharing different food, which I figured out how to do on different boards, but being able to just laugh together. And for a moment, there we were, just in that point in time. And it just speaks to the importance of being present to something joyful that's right in front of you, and really being able to indulge in that and indulging in the laughter. So if every day there's an opportunity to laugh, take it. Don't pass it up. Step into it. Take it. And you couldn't do something that's as beneficial for your health, for your spirit, for humanity, and, really for your heart health as well. So that's my positive share today, Neza.
Thank you, Dr. Ryger, for this wonderful story and such a great opening for our theme today, as we're going to be talking about joy, gatherings, and the wines, and how wines are the perfect fit of taste that enhances every one of our foods, but also enhances all the feelings around our gatherings, whether they are gatherings of celebration or gatherings that can be more professional or so on. But wines are also that element in the menu that we all feel a little bit impressed to order when we look at those long lists. And we can sometimes not feel knowledgeable. I'm very good with my French wines, and I know that some friends are very good with their Italian wines and others with American wines, and they immediately feel impressed with others that know about another region than them. But today we're going to explore all that with our guest speaker, and Heidi is going to give us the tips to be able to order properly. But before getting there, Dr. Ryger, please tell us on how important wine is in the social life, and how important it is, and how it helps us with bringing that extra element to celebrate our emotions.
Nessa, when you're saying this, I'm thinking about all these wonderful experiences that I've had, and that you can have a different kind of orientation to wine. Now, there are some people who find their one wine and that's it. They sit there, they go to their one wine. They know they're going to be happy every time they open up that bottle, and that's one kind of orientation. Is it the tried and true? Then there's the exploration mode where you're willing to try different things, and maybe some you like less, some you like more, but you have an opportunity to have more discovery. And with wine, and having had, the great opportunity to have experienced wine in different countries, that it's such a beautiful thing to share. And having met with vintners and having had tastings at different vineyards in France and in Spain and Portugal, and a couple of South America, that people are so proud of the wine that they make. And that when we take a step back and understand really what goes into this winemaking and how passionate people are, how hard it is to do, how committed people are to really produce their best wine. And one great year doesn't mean that the next is going to be duplicated or replicated. It's like having it's like having more than one baby. You have one baby, you think you got it, then your second one is completely different. It's like you don't get the same one over and over again. And so it's being able to manage and to appreciate the differences. And when people get together, the sharing of bread and wine, we talk about breaking bread. We talk about opening up that bottle of wine, and that it heralds in this notion that we're going to be relaxed. Like it's a time to kind of exhale and to connect with our senses in a different kind of way than we have during the day. And so it has this meaning for us. I mean, there are people who experience it in all different kinds of ways, but for me and for many of the people that I know, it just means that we're here to kind of and share, share our experience of the wine, share our thoughts, share our feelings, have a chance to catch up. And so it has this symbolic meaning of kind of changing the channel.
I love how you tied it to the fact that it is a cultural experience. And it's true. And lately I've discovered that there are wineries around New York. And now we find wineries everywhere. We have wineries in Morocco. We have wineries in countries and regions that are not specifically known for producing wine. But it is that cultural heritage that is totally related to the earth as well, to the climate, to the making. So many details that makes it such a cultural experience. And then wine is beyond drinking. It's really going and exploring those different flavors depending on the different times of the days, depending on the different times of the year, and the foods that you're having. So during COVID, we haven't been able to travel for work or for fun. And with the little pleasures that we had at the beginning of being stopped from having our regular life, having a good glass of wine at 5 to 6 p.m. after work was such an important experience. It was like therapy. So we're here with you, Dr. Ryger. Please talk to us about that, about the importance on a psychological level, because it's really beyond drinking. It's a moment of pleasure, and the importance of those moments of pleasure when we've been in a situation that has taken off a big part of the simple pleasures that we had.
And we don't have to cook it. Yeah. we don't have to prepare it. And so there's nothing like that moment of instant gratification, that I don't have to cook it, I don't have to defrost it, I don't have to plan for it in advance. I can just take it, open it, and there it is right there ready for me. And there's something about that easy access. And so as we're talking about this, of course, it doesn't mean that you have to overindulge. I mean, people can just really take that moment and connect with the pleasure that you're experiencing and allow yourself to feel that pleasure. And pleasure doesn't have to come with a high price tag. So I'll share with you, there was the first time that we brought food in, the people who created this food box surprisingly put in a bottle of wine. It was a bottle of rosé. And we opened it up, and it was wonderful. And then I Vivino'd it, which is, if you guys don't know, Vivino is this wine app, and you can take a picture of the label and get some information about the wine. I'm sure there are other apps as well. And it turned out that this bottle of wine cost, I think, about $18 or $19, and it was delicious. It was just a people pleaser and had some character, and it was wonderful. So it doesn't mean that you have to spend an inordinate amount of money, that you have to go beyond what is possible for you, that you can, no matter where you are in your price point, that there's something that will absolutely work for you, and it will be wonderful. And so we take this in and we share it. We can tell a friend, I had this great wine. We can share it with someone on a Zoom call. We can share it with someone however we want to. But it's a place of connecting, and that when we have been deprived in some ways, where there's some sensory deprivation that a lot of people are experiencing, especially as we just so much want to be able to hug our friends, be in contact, be in connection. And so to share wine, even if it's, across the country, or Neza, for you have your family that's in Morocco. And to be able to have that kind of sharing and connectedness and shared experience is so important, to connect with our senses in a different way, and so that we don't leave pieces of ourselves behind. There's so much that we need to mute now. And, we're all, or most of us, many of us, are experiencing this fatigue of what we need to do in order to be able to stay healthy for ourselves and for our communities. And so to be able to explore in this way, and I remember in a different show with you that you talked about, if I'm feeling like Parisian, I'll go and find a little cafe outside. If I'm feeling like I want to miss, I want this country, I can do things in different ways. You can make the food. But that also another way for us to travel, and while sitting in our own homes or being outside of our homes, is to create our own experience and bring wines in from wherever it is that you want. We can bring wines in from Africa. We can bring wines in from Europe. We can bring wines in from, and basically almost any place in the world. And it gives us an opportunity to use some experience, some of our experiences that we would like to have, and just bring in a little bit of it. And to bring in that kind of travel into our world, to bring in that exploration, and to be able to satisfy something, even if it's in a small way, but to be able to satisfy that something in ourselves that gets us out of the usual and has us thinking about, kind of where it was made and what that country might be like. And, depending on how big or small you want to go with that exploration, you can do anything you want with it. Or you could just say, it's 6:00 or it's 7:00 or whatever it is. This is the end of my day, and this is my transition period. And without having to do anything, I'm just going to take my corkscrew or open up the screw top. All I need is a glass and this, and it is easy going from here.
So inspiring. Yes, you said it. We're definitely not through this episode inciting people to drink more. As a matter of fact, it's really drink less, but drink in quality. And the quality, as you said, Dr. Ryger, is not in the price tag. It's in the research. It's in the reading around that wine and that region. It's the knowledge around it. And it is something that you can share with your family and even the little ones. I am training my daughters, and especially the one that is 11, that is much more interested in learning about the regions and so on. And so I make her smell the wine. I make her, I educate her on the regions and the wine, the difference, and through her smell, I help her develop that differentiation between one wine and the other. So it is something. It's like a history / geography lesson that you can have with your children. And exactly, drinking wine the way we're talking about it, it's more like a meditation / travel / cultural event that when you're doing it this way, you won't want to overdrink it, because every sip needs to be taken with a lot of attention. And then it makes us also want to explore the foods that can go with it. So let us bring in our guest today. I'm honored to introduce sommelier Heidi Turzyn. Heidi is a seasoned hospitality executive and event director with deep experience in food and beverage. So Heidi, I would like to know what your philosophy is as a sommelier, but then I also would like to know, how it is to be a sommelier as a woman. So let's go on the sommelier as a woman, and then talk about your philosophy and what took you there.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today. I started in the restaurant business when I was old enough to work, working my way up and learning all the different skills. And I started going to be a som when I was working at for Chef David Berke. And there, that was the area that I was in was on 61st and Park. So every neighborhood has different clientele. And so the first challenge was really to master the list and to master the wine world as much as you could. And then the challenge of being a woman really started there, I would say, because, you really have to know your stuff, and you have to be able to connect with your guest and to win their trust, so they understand where you're coming from, you understand what they're looking for. And so I think, excuse me, being a woman, it is a little different in the wine world, and you have to really stay focused and not be distracted by all of the just kind of the fluff and the people and the some it's very much a boys club, and you have to really just stay focused on your goal. And my goal was to be the best wine professional I could, and to give the guests what they're looking for and what really matches what they wanted for the evening. So it was difficult in the beginning, because you can't be distracted by just the other groups of people and gentlemen that might just have their own idea of what a som should look like, or where they come from and what school and whatnot. So it was important for me to just focus on the goal, and that's what I did. And as you go and you learn more and you build your confidence, it just gets that much easier. And when you deal with difficult guests that may look at you because you're younger than them or you're a female, you just don't get distracted by those kind of thoughts, and you stay focused on what you're there to do. And then you find ways to just not pay attention to it and move on to the people that really appreciate it. So it really is about, in the beginning, keeping the blinders on and staying focused on the goal. So, and my philosophy on wine is really great wine comes with great terroir, great winemakers. It's all about the detail and what you put in your body. Just like food is very important with wine as well. You don't want to have it masked with too much oak. You don't want too much manipulation to the wine. So you do want a wine that's a bit more, or you want a wine that is not as, you want it to be more natural in a way. So my philosophy is really knowing the producers. As Risa knows, I have a very close connection with a lot of winemakers from around the world, and knowing everything behind the wine. And then you take it from there. And you'll see, for people that just start to learn about wine, I find that you should really find that producer, that region you love, and go from there.
So I'm going to just say that my experience with Psalms and going out to dinner when that was happening, we had just that wonderful opportunity. Is that having a great Psalm to guide you to something that you may not know, and say, well, this is kind of what I like, but what can you suggest? Because having, going someplace that has a good wine list is like going into another country. It's like, well, what is it? I know the Eiffel Tower, I know the Arc de Triomphe. Like, what is it that I don't know? Take me someplace where I haven't been, but that you think I might like. And so it can be so enhancing. So Heidi, how can we bring some of that into our homes, into our experiences at home, to be able to have a different kind of experience? And I'd love to hear it from your perspective. And I will say that Heidi has an extraordinary network of vintners that she's experienced and is just so knowledgeable about this. So Heidi, we're yours.
Yes, absolutely. I have definitely been blessed in my life to be surrounded by amazing people in this industry and have built some really wonderful relationships all around the world. And I think, it's important to connect with those people and stay connected with them. And during this time, a way that I've kind of brought it back home, just being that we are a little more contained at home these days, I've been exploring my own backyard. To say it, like in New York, there are a lot of wineries, and being that I can't travel at this moment, my husband's also in the wine industry, and so we've been exploring more in Hudson Valley, some great wineries there, the Finger Lakes, the North Fork. So I think times like this, a creative way to connect and to create different experiences is to really just kind of look what's in your own backyard and explore. And there's something to be said for, staying local and to see what's there. And that's a creative way that I've been trying to kind of keep something a little more that is a little more on the norm side for me, where that's connecting with the winemakers, and that's connecting with them an hour away from my home rather than 8 hours. So our last trip we went on was in Israel, and that was an amazing experience. Prior to that, Italy. So being that we can't be there now, it's really getting to know and to master what's in our own backyard. Sometimes you don't think about it. You overlook what's right next to you. And so that's been a great experience. And then just to touch on what to do to kind of mimic or bring in the experience that you would normally get in a restaurant, I think is to, make a plan to find that recipe that you want to try at home. Think about what you might want to drink with it. And then I'm sure everybody has a wine shop that they like to go to. Have an idea of what grape varietals might be interesting to you, might be a little off the radar that you'd be curious about. And then speak to the professionals at the store and ask them if they would recommend that one particular wine. Or if you know that you want to try something different, then you go and pick it up and explore. Now's the time to try different things. You have time now to sit and to really think about it and to compare the wines. So try a couple of different wines and take the time now to really enjoy.
Heidi, thank you. And we'll definitely, when you talked about wineries in our backyard, yeah. I am and so interested, and a lot of our audience is in New York and upstate now with COVID. So yeah, so we would love to take 3 or 5 of those destinations, put them in an article and share it with our audience through our.
I would love that.
Be a great weekend getaways ideas. So you talked about focus when you were going through your career, and that's what kept you on track. Ignoring the
naysayer.
Yeah, exactly, and the presumption of people over your age or your gender. I think this is a great tip for women around the world, no matter what industry they are in, and you are the living proof of it. And it's true. Every one of us that made it in those times where there wasn't much space for women, the one that made it are the ones that really ignored and just kept being focused on their goal and their dream and their passion. So, Heidi, you've worked with David Berke and the beloved Gotham Bar and Grill. Can you tell us what was important to you about creating wine programs at this amazing establishment?
Yes. Of course, my goal was to always create the best list that I could, and to know that wherever your finger lands on that list, it's going to be a great wine of great quality. That was always my goal, and I was very proud of every list I created. Every neighborhood's different. I've created lists for David Berke in Midtown. I've created lists for Alfred Portale in Greenwich, in the Village area, and then I've also created lists in Miami for in a neighborhood called Wynwood. And so every neighborhood is different, and you have to really listen to the guests and the clientele and know what they're looking for in each neighborhood, have an idea of what they're looking for. So I think, creating beautiful lists and working for somebody like Alfred from Gotham Bar and Grill, that was one of the highlights of my career. I had a long history with Gotham. I worked there before being a SOM, then after being one, and then taking over the beverage program. So it was a place where I really grew, and it's a huge part of my hospitality background. And it was actually the last place that I had a glass of wine before COVID hit. I was there at the closing party. That was the last day. So one of the highlights was my time at Gotham and working for Alfred Portale, who now opened his own restaurant after the closing of Gotham. And really is creating wonderful lists that is not just for that somebody that is going to spend $40 will find a beautiful bottle to somebody that's going to spend $400. So there's quality wine behind every bottle.
Well, Heidi, two questions. I mean, one is what are some of the trends in wines that you're seeing now? But before you answer that, of course, the question that I have in mind is, and so what did you drink as your last glass of wine before we move on to that question? Do you remember?
I believe it was a Volnay from Burgundy, Poussier Volnay 2007. There were a couple of glasses that night, so I'm going to go with that one. And the trends happening in the industry, there is a more, I'm sorry for the noise.
It's New York.
Upstairs.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Some of the trends, people are looking to go a little more. I think there's people are being more mindful of what they put in their body from food to wine. So I think there's a trend going where they're looking for, not to say it has to be 100% to be in the category of natural, but they're looking for ones that are practicing organic, ones that are being mindful of the sprays they put on in their vineyards, ones that are being mindful of the oak treatment and if it works with those varietals. So, wines that are a little cleaner. And that's definitely a trend. And then people are exploring with different varietals, for Long Island, they're exploring with some varietals like Albarino is a new one they're using over there, which really works well. And I think people are just looking to try different varietals. So I think that's a trend with, for the most part, I would say that's one. I mean, orange wine was a trend a while ago, but it's kind of changed a little. And I think now people are just looking for good wines at good value. And that's what I think is happening currently with COVID and everything.
And can you get beyond kind of, because what I've seen also is that there have been all sorts of interesting labels. Mm-hmm. The labels you in more than the wine does. So
the labels, a label could tell
you
a lot.
Art, yeah.
Yeah, a label could tell you a lot about the wine. Not to say that you should judge it on it, but the value of the wine, a lot goes into it, as you know, and that also includes the artwork. If you're paying for a particular bottle type, I would say they're different prices, and that will also affect the cost of the wine, and also the artwork. I've had to do private labels for many of the chefs I worked for, and I wanted a special label for one of the ones at Gotham, and that costs a lot more, so it wasn't in the budget. So that does contribute to the cost of the wine. But on the label there could be beautiful artwork. There could be information. If you look at a German label, there's so much information about what's in the wine. you have to really be able to look through it, see what it's telling you, if it's dry, if it's sweet, the appellation, the vineyard. So wines that have more detail sometimes, there's more information. Not to say that you need to know. They're doing a gut renovation downstairs. So the label will tell you a lot. And if you're familiar with wines, you can see that there's vineyard, vintage, producer, varietal. That's what you're really looking for. If there's beautiful artwork, that's what they choose to do. It's not gonna, might just contribute to the cost. I wouldn't want to judge a wine on it. But.
Yes, I would like to add that as I'm also a champagne fan, I have discovered that actually most of the pricey champagne is just because of marketing. When you go to the region, you find some champagnes that are completely unknown, that are from the Champagne region, and that cost $12, $13 a bottle, and they are amazing. Mm-hmm. And so a lot also goes through the marketing. So people have to be aware of that. And you just have to explore. You have to explore to invest in a $15, $18 bottle of wine and just taste it. So it's just fascinating to hear you. I have a last question for you, Heidi. How do you feel that, how has your work been impacted with COVID, knowing that it's a lot related to the hospitality industry that has been struggling? But do you feel that there will be also an evolution and like a push to innovation in your work over time?
Yeah, I think the hospitality industry has been hit extremely hard during these times, and there's very few people left that are working, because you can't really have a strong business with a small capacity that opening with. It doesn't make financial sense. So it's definitely been a struggle in that sense, and everyone's kind of on edge and not knowing what the industry is going to look like at the end of this. So I always try to think ahead and see what I can do to better myself, to not only to prepare for the future, but to help me deal with the stress of the unknown. So during this time, I've really been focusing on other skills that can add to the ones that I already have. I love the hospitality world. I love wine. I have to keep in mind that going back into industry, it's going to be that much more competitive when we reopen. And so I have to be able to have other skills. And so I've been working just to see what I can do to add to that. So I've been doing some project management studies to see what I can add and be able to attract other industries as well with the unknown. Hopefully the hospitality industry does come back, because New York needs it. It's so much a part of New York. And so
the noise is also part of New York. So
yes.
I know, right? It is unfair that you work. I want to bang back downstairs and go to the other side of the apartment for a few minutes. And then the other half of the question, I'm sorry. You mentioned.
Yeah, like the innovative part in your industry, and just reformulate it. So as Dr. Ryger told you, we are a women's organization. We like to empower women. We produce content, events, so many touch points that will support women's empowerment through their professional and personal development. And so I just want to be pushy with you and just like tell you, just imagine, what if your work was not to happen through the classical hospitality industry, restaurant, like space? What could you be offering? How could you be offering your services in an innovative way? So just project yourself really on yes, how could you create out of the restaurant industry?
Yeah, I think that creative ways that things that are going to change from this point on, creative ways that people will take this moment to evolve and be creative. I think that hospitality in general and events is going to be on a bit more of an intimate level. It won't be as big and as many people. I do hear a lot of people are doing smaller events, so it's more intimate. You'll have time to really speak with your guest and to be connected with the people that you're sitting at the table with. People are trying to be more creative with the tasting groups. So you do a lot of blind tastings via Zoom. And that's something that's happening. I think overall there's going to be just more of a greener kind of look on everything, greener and cleaner, I would say, because there'll be a lot more regulations. And I think everyone is just trying to figure out ways to, like you said, market themselves or into other industries, like I was mentioning with the project management. And maybe, me taking that on, I'll be able to then build restaurants for when the hospitality world comes back strong, because we'll want those restaurants. So, so I think that's ways. And I think the restaurants will just keep, right now there was a movement towards more casual happening in the industry, and the finer dining restaurants weren't as busy. But now I think it's going to work out for the fine dining, because you want the special occasion restaurants now. It won't be as often, but there's a need for them. Mm-hmm. So I think that kind of separation of styles of dining is still going to be there, because we'll need them both. So I think maybe the in-betweens will be a little less, and it's more casual to fine dining. We'll see.
Thank you, Heidi. It was so inspiring to listen to you today. Dr. Ryger.
So first off, I just want to touch base back with Neza and just comment about how I didn't know until today that virtual learning in her home also included a wine course for her children. So I may sign up, I may Zoom in for that portion of homeschooling. And that being said, I now want to really turn to Heidi and to thank you so much for being on. Thank you for being a Som. And that, I feel so deeply for people in the hospitality industry and for sommeliers and for women in that space, because what does it mean to be in hospitality? What does it mean to be a Som? It's about helping people experience and connect with pleasure that you know about through your understanding, through your expertise, and helping people to connect with your expertise to experience even more pleasure and surprise and delight in their lives. So what a spot to be. And we miss you, and I miss you so much. That being said, here are a couple of takeaways. So one takeaway is to explore locally, and that although we've been all over the world in what we've taken home and experienced perhaps, that we also have this great opportunity to get out and to go into our own backyards, to go into places that are not too far, to hop in a car and be able to have this kind of experience, and that it can open up new doors and new experiences for us. And that another takeaway would be to plan your experience, and that you can take the reins and make it as small as you want. You could have a wine from a region and perhaps pair it with a cheese from that region, and you can make it small and easy that way. Or if you have grander ideas, to be able to do that as well and have a meal that's also connected to the food you eat. I know for one that if I were to do that and I don't know what to do, I'm calling Heidi to find out what direction I need to go in. And so this has just been such a joy to connect with this lovely part of life and this lovely part of how we can still maintain and sustain ourselves in this way. And so as we're coming to a close, I want to thank you all for joining us here today, to being part of the sisterhood. We're here with you to talk about the tough stuff, the wonderful and uplifting stuff, the ways that we connect with ourselves in our senses. Hope you liked our show today. Please don't forget to hit the like button or leave a comment if you've enjoyed today's episode. How could you not enjoy today's episode with Heidi guiding us and helping us experience new and wonderful things in ways that can make it so easy for us? And remember, as always, we've saved a seat for you. To save a seat for you, please subscribe to Join Mayshad's YouTube channel, and don't forget to hit the bell to get all notifications of our great content.